Hello and welcome to the Total Clarity Podcast. I'm Mike Varley.
I'm Jessie Hyatt.
And we are in week 2 of our tour around Staten Island. This is the east shore of Staten Island. As a Staten Islander told us this week, it is not the coast, but the shore.
Yes, we were corrected on our lingo. Happy to be corrected and know better now.
Yeah. Well, we're also going to go to the North Shore and South Shore. We're going to each shore.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from Long Island, North Shore and South Shore makes sense to me.
Right. I actually had been seeing people refer to the North Shore, and I just assumed they were talking about Long Island. I never even imagined that there could possibly be a North Shore Staten Island and a North Shore Long Island.
Yeah.
But now we know that there is.
Yeah, but
there's no the lingo.
There's no East Shore or West Shore Long Island, so it
never
occurred to me because...
Well, there's no West Shore.
The West Shore is Brooklyn.
Well, I guess there is West Shore. It's like like Brooklyn Bridge Park.
And the East Shore is Orient Point and Montauk, so
but it's not really a shore. It's a tip.
Yeah. So, anyway, we're in week 2 of our Staten Island trip, and before we get into the route, Jessie and I wanted to talk a little bit about just the idea of living in Staten Island, because we have been very impressed with Staten Island in general.
It's true.
And by no means are we thinking of settling down anywhere. So don't get any ideas, people that might be thinking that we're doing that.
I mean, I have been thinking about it.
Okay.
Speak for yourself there.
She's getting ideas.
But I also think about living everywhere I go. Anytime we go on vacation, I think, ooh, could I move here? What would that be like? And then I go all into it. I get all excited. I have an overactive imagination, as they say. So I don't know how serious those thoughts are, but I have been thinking about it.
Right. I'm the one that doesn't like to think about things until I'm ready to walk for a year around the city. So for me, it doesn't feel like a permanent thing. However, the point is, it has been really interesting to see all the things that Staten Island has to offer. And in addition to that, I don't think that anybody within our group of people that we know, our peers, age-wise, interest-wise, etc., I've never heard anybody say they're moving to Staten Island.
No.
And
the only person I know that moved to Staten Island is my old boss at a restaurant that I worked at, who grew up in Bay Ridge and lived in Bay Ridge with his family and then moved out to Staten Island. But that's not a peer.
Yeah. No, that's not a peer.
But that's the only person that I know.
But you did, at least you knew of one person that moved to Staten Island.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the conversation was like?
It was after I worked there, so I got a social media update that said we're moving to Staten Island.
Right.
It wasn't really a conversation.
Yeah.
I think I had a conversation with myself where I thought, wow, that's an interesting choice for them, I guess because they have kids maybe and there's more space and maybe it's cheaper and they could get a house and they had been living in an apartment.
Right.
It was purely a conversation with myself and it was all suppositions. And it was before I had ever really been to Staten Island.
Right.
So.
Well, we've described your boss on the podcast previously, but you want to just refresh people?
Spiro was my boss at Athena's Mediterranean Cuisine on 14th and 6th in Park Slope. Great food, great guy, grew up in Bay Ridge, very Greek. And had I guess, how old is he? Probably he turned 40 while I was working there. So he's probably about 50 now. And just classic New York, Bay Ridge, Greek guy. And he has a wife from Colombia who is very nice, named Andrea, and 2 kids, Athena and George. And they lived in Bay Ridge until a few years ago, and now they live in Staten Island.
Right.
Is that descriptive enough?
I think so. I would say that if I were to give a profile of him as well as a profile of many of the people living in Staten Island, there's a cross-section there. And not just what I would have thought before
Mm,
going to Staten Island for such an extended period of time, but now having spent a lot of time walking through it, it does seem to match up with him.
mm. As far as like a small business owner, family man, New York City kind of got the like New York City grit.
Yeah, it's kind of like a white ethnic New York City vibe.
Right.
I think he matches that profile.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't really thought about that since we've been walking out there because to be honest, my what I thought Staten Island would be like was more of like the white Irish Catholic firefighter policeman vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think of Spiro or the Greek Bay Ridge person
Mm-hmm.
to be linked like that.
Yeah. What I would say,
I guess as we've spent more time out there, I am seeing that it's much more diverse than I expected. And yeah, I mean, I guess I have to think on it a little bit more.
the impression I get thus far is that a lot of the whiteness that is out in Staten Island has a strong identity to whatever culture they came from,
Yeah, I
birth-wise.
guess we've been seeing a lot of people that are very Italian.
Very
We've been
Italian,
noticing, and
very Russian,
yeah,
which I didn't know that there was a Russian
yeah, I
population
didn't
out there.
either.
I'd like to ask more Russian people if that was common knowledge or not.
Yeah,
But yeah, all along the beaches, been seeing people out constantly speaking Russian.
right,
Little kids, adults, all ages.
right. And it's funny because you can see Brighton Beach and Coney Island from across the water,
Right.
which I guess, like, Bay Ridge is so associated with being a Greek neighborhood, and then you're just over the Verrazano
Yeah.
from Staten Island. So that also makes sense that that culture could easily go back and forth.
Yeah. But before we stray too far into that area and start talking more about like where we went on the walk, the idea of living in Staten Island, I think is from what we've seen, it's you have access to beaches very easily. You have access to forests very easily.
Mm-hmm.
You have access to the larger city very easily. Not necessarily as easily as some of the other boroughs, because the subway isn't something that runs, but between the ferry and if you wanted to drive over the Verrazano, you can.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that I don't think it's an area that maybe if you're in your 20s it makes sense, because I haven't seen a lot of areas that suggest there's like a nightlife situation. But if you're looking to settle or if you're looking to actually purchase a home, there it seems to me that this area should be in the conversation when you hear a lot of people talking about moving upstate because it's affordable
Mm-hmm.
and like also people that want to be upstate, but it's only a 2 or 3 hour drive to the city, so you still have access to the city. And it's like, well, if you're judging by that metric, Staten Island is vastly superior
Sure, yeah.
because you have multiple means of public transportation to get in, and you could be using your car at that point because there is space for parking in
Right.
Staten Island.
Or
And
if you're living off the Metro North or the Long Island Railroad, Staten Island would be just as easy because the ferry is right there and it's also free.
yeah,
Like if you move to Beacon or something, I think it's like $13 to get into the city and
yeah,
it takes longer. I mean, the Metro North is very nice,
yeah,
but if that's your thought process is let me save a little bit of money and move out of the city and it's still within 2 hours, then yeah, you could save the same amount of money on a house and then also save your transportation cost.
hmm yeah. And I mean, I could understand if you are from Staten Island, you don't want to settle in Staten Island.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, I think, the nature of a lot of people don't want to settle in the area where they grew up
Right.
in. And I was talking to somebody from Staten Island. I was talking to Nick. Hey, Nick, if you're watching. And he grew up in southern Staten Island, which we haven't visited yet. But he was saying that, a lot of people that he knew moved to Jersey
Mm-hmm.
because there's more space and more value for your money and whatnot.
Mm.
Now, that might play into what we were talking about last week with the differential in median income, where it was 46,000 in up north Staten Island and like
Right.
89 down south.
Something like that.
So,
Yeah.
from our perspective, some of the things that might appeal to some of the things that people who grew up in the south of Staten Island might not be interested in what the north has to offer. It's more of an urban area.
Mm.
But from our perspective, we went through this one area, the Grimes Hill Silver Lake area, which is where Wagner College is and where a satellite St. John's campus is. And it was like we walked through in like golden hour one of the days it was sunny, and it really struck us both simultaneously. It was like this really nice area, and we were curious how much the homes were. And one block, the homes were like 1.2 million or something like that. But literally, just another block away, I could see no distinction. There probably is some sort of distinction with, I guess, school. I don't know, but
Maybe, or like the homes themselves maybe all need work or something on the inside.
perhaps it seems unlikely that
Although
they'd all
probably
be that
not.
way.
Yeah, good point. And they all looked really nice on the outside.
Yeah, those homes were anywhere from 500 to 700,000.
Yeah.
So, and again, very closely located. I mean, they were probably like a half-hour walk to the ferry, but an 8-minute car ride to the ferry, and then you are walking distance from Cloves Lake Park, which we discussed last week, which is really like a Central Park-esque location, Silver Lake Park as well. And you can easily go to all those beaches on the East Shore, which none of the upstate locations that are often talked about have access to that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the upstate maybe has access to a lake or something,
Right.
which is a different vibe. But it is, yeah, it's really interesting to think about living there. It's really cool to see who is there. And yeah, that neighborhood that you're talking about, the reason that we both thought it was so nice was because the streets were wide. There were nice maintained sidewalks. It was kind of curvy, so it just felt like you were in a really sweet, quiet neighborhood.
Yeah.
But we were also so close to, like you said, the parks, the beach, and then also the neighborhood over feels more like a city.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was, some of these neighborhoods offer an alternative to what the housing that's available in Brooklyn is, both in price, meaningfully, and also just how the homes are put together. I mean, I enjoy Brooklyn neighborhoods a lot, and it doesn't necessarily bother me that your home is literally connected to another home on either side, but this was not the case there, And so you get that yard and you get that degree of personal space, but you're still in New York City,
Right.
And even the Queens homes that were further out didn't really have the same feel as whatever this was. I can't really put my finger on it. Maybe it's because the particular roads on this hill, that the Grimes Hill Silver Lake area, were like the roads were windier and it just kind of had a different layout, whereas in Queens it's pretty gridded most of the time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. And it's funny. I mean, it just feels like suburbs without actually being in the suburbs.
Yeah. It also has some elevation, whereas that doesn't exist in a lot of the other boroughs. We didn't go to the highest point, but I was doing a little bit of reading before we started the episode, and this Todd Hill, Grimes Hill area is actually the Todd Hill, and specifically, which is like the next hill over, is the highest elevation south of Maine. along the entire eastern seaboard.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it's the highest point in the entire city.
Oh,
So,
wow. We'll have to go there this week.
yeah,
Is it Todd or Todt? Is it Toddt?
yeah,
Is that what you're talking about?
yeah. Do you think it's Toad?
That's how I've been saying it in my head when I see it on the map, but
Huh.
I don't know.
Well, one of us might be right. Neither of us might be right. I'm not sure. Forgiveness to anyone that lives on the tall hill. But yeah, I'm trying to understand what it is that makes it not only like just a non-topic.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can come up with right now is that, I mean, the stereotypes that are put on it, and maybe you're true, I'm not really sure, but I don't think it should matter either way if you really like the city. But the idea that like, oh, you know, it's a garbage place. You know, it's where they put the garbage,
Right.
and it's like, well, they did, yes, previously. That's true, and like it's a very conservative place, and certainly compared to the rest of the city, yeah, I suppose it is.
And it does, I have seen inklings of that
Hmm.
in certain areas. And yeah, I don't want to live next to the person with a Trump flag. Like, whatever. I don't want to live in that neighborhood or on that street. But it doesn't seem like that definitely doesn't speak for all of Staten Island.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would question the idea of not wanting to live next to it. I mean, if the area was in like 50 miles away from anybody else that you could find compatible, yes, I think that would be very isolating.
Yeah.
But I think that it is eye-opening to me that the stereotypes that those things exist would be so strong as to keep people away from even considering this area as an option,
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can find people.
Well, I guess I'm sorry. The thing that I'm actually picturing when I say I don't want to live next to the person with the Trump flag, I'm actually picturing this pickup truck that drove by us one day that had 2 Trump flags and also bumper stickers that were just like aggressive, just like, oh, you liberals cried in 2016, I want to see you cry again, and like, I don't want to live next to that person. That's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
It's less about like what are your I don't mind, like, if you go to church or something, great. If that's your conservative value, or if it's conservative as like a social thing. But once we start talking about the political spectrum these days, it gets a little trickier.
Yeah.
And it easily turns into that pickup truck person, which
Yeah.
is like, no one wants that.
Well, interestingly enough, I think now, for multiple reasons, is the time to be looking for a home. One, because people are moving out of the city and the COVID situation has the markets all jumbled up.
Right.
But 2, there are signs outside of people's houses identifying
Yeah.
what they're interested in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All over Staten Island right now, there are obviously political signs up that identify if you are. It shouldn't identify who you're interested in, but the signs are pretty aggressive, talking about law and order candidate, or sometimes they even say endorsed by Trump. Although there was only
Oh, I
one
haven't seen
sign.
any of those.
There was one sign for I think her name is it Nicole? Nicole Maliotokis?
Oh, yeah,
That it said it proudly endorsed by Trump.
Oh.
That sign was on the side of the road in front of like a shopping center. I didn't see that particular sign on any owned properties.
Oh, interesting.
And then sometimes it just has her name, and sometimes it says law and order candidate.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you know who it is that is running under what, then you could use that to determine what the neighborhood's like.
Right. Well, I guess yeah, now that you're saying there are a lot of signs in general. And I guess maybe part of the thing that makes people think that Staten Island's more conservative and as a whole, I feel like as a person that wouldn't put that label on myself, the signs that are kind of like the aggressive conservative signs definitely hit me harder than the ones that are like maybe for a more progressive candidate that I don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been seeing all the signs for, what's his name, Max Rose?
Yes,
Is that his name?
Yes, he's the incumbent first-term Democratic congressman.
Yeah, and I don't really know anything about him except for that apparently he worked with de Blasio to change the bail law
There was a sign that we
recently.
saw where
Maybe.
they were saying the sign said de Blasio and Max Rose should be impeached for supporting the bail bond law.
Yeah, that doesn't work that way.
No.
And also, whatever, I disagree. But,
Right.
but yeah, we have been seeing a lot of signs in support of him.
Yeah, no, I mean, just as many
Yeah.
as his opponent.
But I just don't really know much about him.
Yeah.
Or really anything about him. So seeing a sign like that makes me feel less feelings than seeing a sign that says something about the law and order candidate.
Yeah. Well, interesting sidebar about Max Rose's signs. Max Rose's signs are white with a green star because he was a former Army officer.
Oh, right.
It might not be Army, excuse me if it isn't, but it is. He was in the armed forces, and I thought it was very interesting because all the other signs are red and blue, and I think it's a fairly smart move on his part because he is a Democrat to identify himself with the armed forces rather than the Democratic Party.
While out there on Staten Island.
Yeah. But as far as, people, I mean, I'm not interested in interacting with the pickup truck Trump guy if I can avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are just as many people that, if we moved into a very liberal Brooklyn area, not only are we going to have to pay a lot of money, but like that situation is just as annoying potentially and like not real in any sense of like what I am interested in exposing myself to on a daily basis. I find that tiring in both similar and different ways.
Yeah. Well, that's part of why I really like where we currently live, because it is definitely not like a homogenous white conservative neighborhood by any means. It's super diverse and people are friendly. And I don't know what people vote. I don't know how people vote in our neighborhood, but I know that people seem to be nice to each other. There's a lot of people that I assume probably vote Democratic because that would probably be within their best interest based on the demographics here. But I don't know because they're not talking about it.
Yeah.
And there aren't a ton of signs and there isn't this like virtue signaling in either direction because I think everybody thinks that they're trying to say that they're better people.
Yeah.
Whether I agree with that or not.
Well, I think that is an interesting, when you say white, homogenous, conservative group, I feel like my experiences of walking around this week was a lot more white-skinned people than last week.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that there is a diversity, though, within this experience, which I think from an outsider perspective, looking at it from a different borough, you think, well, there's no diversity within this spectrum of people. But in fact, that's not the case. And not only is it, I think maybe the reason we would think that is because a lot of people that are living in the other boroughs that are white-skinned don't identify as strongly with their cultural backgrounds.
Yeah.
So there is actually a diversity that might not be expected as a consequence.
Right, that's true. And maybe because we just think of the yard signs and the conservative nature and the fact that maybe there's more suburban areas, we kind of lump it all as one. But, I mean, we just talked about it. There was an area that was a Russian area. There was an area that was more Italian.
Yeah.
And we were definitely noticing those differences. Yeah. I guess we're figuring out why Staten Island is a challenge for people to want to move there, though. as we're trying to just navigate this conversation about what we've been seeing and what we feel it actually is, this is part of, I think, why people don't necessarily want to move out there.
Well, it's wild. It's pretty well documented and discussed that there is a rift between people that live in, the cities and the coast, and then the flyover country, which is insulting even in itself, but just the
Sure.
middle of the country, and that there's this cultural gap. But the gap even extends within the cities, that there are areas that, people can't bridge, even when there's a bridge that they can go to or take a boat over. It's still a thing that exists, and it's both ways too. And I imagine, like, if we talk to a bunch of people on Staten Island, they'd be like, good, we don't want you people coming over here, like
Right.
there's a very strong identity for what Staten Island is. It's very weird because a lot of people that come from Staten Island are like, I guess especially the ones that rise to, notoriety, are all too happy to lean into the self-deprecating idea of
There's
it.
also a lot of comedians that come from Staten Island, and that's just comedy.
Yeah. But yeah, I think there's also this idea that people want it to stay the way it is because it's their area,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would love to be able to talk to, we said this last week, I'd love to be able to talk to somebody that's politically invested there to find out what their opinion is on the situation.
Yeah, I would also like to talk to someone more about it. Right now, we have been there for 2 weeks, and that's 2 weeks longer than we had been there previously, but it's still only 2 weeks, and we're still in our first impressions phase. So this is all based on just what we're seeing and observing.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like we can actually represent the thought processes of people very well because we haven't had a lot of time or opportunities to really speak with anyone.
No. But yeah, so if you're looking to move somewhere anytime soon, you should go to Staten Island and see if you like it, because there's things in Staten Island.
There's things in Staten Island.
So we'll leave it at there for now. Let's move on to the walk itself.
Okay.
So last week we were on the west shore of Staten Island, and this week we were on the east shore, which, as we've already suggested, is very beach heavy.
Yeah.
In a way that the way that the west shore was not at all.
No, I don't think there was a single spot to do beach things.
There was an industry side of things.
Yeah.
Then there was an inability for us to get over there.
Yeah.
It looks like on the map, and maybe we can try a little harder next week to see if we can get over there, but it looks like there's a bottling plant, but otherwise I think it's more industry and preserved land.
Right.
And maybe, reclaimed landfills.
Right.
There's certainly no beaches on the map as far as I can see from Google. But that has one profile, and then the East Shore has a very different profile.
Very different.
And I guess starting from the top is Fort Wadsworth.
Yeah.
Fort Wadsworth is where the Verrazano Bridge makes landfall onto Staten Island. And it is also historically a place of military importance. And so there's a fort there. And we were able to capture a little bit of it on video and also some of it for the 360 video. And it is another instance of something that, if you live there, you could take people to see it. And it's a really nice way to spend some time.
Yeah, there's the historical aspects of it being a fort and all the old buildings that are associated with said fort. But then it's also just a really nice place to walk around. There's lots of trees and pathways and plant life. And my favorite part, there were goats.
There were
There
goats.
was a hillside that was totally overgrown, and they had about, I don't know how many goats were there, but we saw like almost 20 goats chewing on the bushes, on the overgrown greenery, and they were hired as landscapers.
That's right. The first day we went there, we first noticed that there was an electric fence around an area.
Yeah.
And we were speculating why that was. And
We thought maybe it was some kind of like top secret thing.
We thought it was a deterrent to get to the base of the bridge because we didn't have any better idea.
Oh, right. That is what we thought. I thought in my head I had gone into like Montauk experiment, kind of like top secret military alien invasion.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfectly situated in a city with a population of many millions.
But it's on Staten Island. That's why people don't move to Staten Island.
That's right.
Anyway, it wasn't for the bridge or for an alien invasion. It was because there's goats in there.
That's right. And according to the signs, the goats have been there for something like 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day we were there, we just saw a dozen signs that say, "Do not feed the goats, please."
Yeah.
And that made Jessie upset because she said, "Why should there be signs if there's no goats here?"
Yeah, and I thought that it was like felt like I was being teased.
Yeah. But when we went back on subsequent days, we did in fact see the goats. The second day, we didn't anticipate seeing the goats. We thought they had been gone for the season or something.
Yeah.
And then as we're walking, there are multiple tiers. There's kind of like the lowest road that goes under the bridge, and then there's a secondary road and a tertiary road. And the secondary road, which you can see the fort from, as well as the bridge, is a pretty steep hill. And then there were just goats chilling on the hill, eating to their heart's content.
Yeah. There was one goat that was trying to get the berries off a tree. The other goats were staying down low in the brush. And the signs say that they eat all the poison ivy.
Yeah. I would be interested to know what it looked like before the goats came or how they even dealt with it, because it seemed pretty overgrown to me. So I don't know really what the distinction is.
It seems like they need more goats.
I don't know if they need more. I mean, it looks fine. If you're making it so that like nobody goes there, then that's fine. I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
It might just be keeping it at a natural level of disorder. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the second day. We took a bunch of videos and pictures. And then I don't think we saw them the third day.
No.
Or maybe the third day was when we saw them.
It was. We didn't walk through the fort on the second day.
But the first day I was alone on Thursday, it was raining, and I walked by where we had gone the first day, the lowest portion where we hadn't seen the goats. And then they were all in their little goat house.
Yeah.
There was 14 or 15 of them, at least, inside the goat house. And I took a picture of that. And yeah, that was funny to see.
Yeah.
And yeah,
They were getting shelter.
Yes, they were.
Except for one I saw in that picture.
Yeah, he's shortly thereafter went in to join everybody else.
Yeah.
But definitely a place to go and bring children, and hopefully they'll be out there.
Yeah. Don't let the children touch the fence, though, and also don't let them touch the goats because of the poison ivy. But I guess you can read the signs.
There were multiple fences.
There were a lot of signs.
And multiple signs. I think you'd be okay.
Yeah.
But it was a place where one day I went there and there were guys playing cricket.
Yeah, I saw them.
Oh, that was, okay. It's hard to remember. And
right underneath the bridge at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked nice.
Yeah. And also, it is, I guess, home to active military. I mean, there was areas that were closed off to the general public, and we saw people up there. So people must be stationed there. And there are also kind of, if you're coming from the west to the east, the first road entering has this beautiful row of homes and tree-lined street that, yeah, I don't know if anybody gets a chance to live there, but that was pretty nice too.
They said private homes.
Yeah.
So I think so.
Yeah. So you'd be pretty lucky to be stationed there.
Yeah.
There's an analog encampment on the other side in Brooklyn. We haven't been there yet, and I'm not really sure if it's open to the public or not. We'll find out. It's not listed as green in Google Maps, so I don't know if we'll be allowed to go. I think it's called Fort Hamilton,
Oh,
but we'll see in a few weeks.
is that why Fort Hamilton Parkway
I think so.
is called Fort Hamilton Parkway?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're able to get to the shore. I just don't know if we're able to get to the military town or whatever that
interesting.
exists down there.
No, I had no idea.
But I don't know if the video does it justice or not, but it really is quite a spectacle to see the Verrazano from that
Yeah,
angle.
it is really cool. That bridge is big.
It's the largest bridge of its kind in the world, is my understanding.
What is its kind?
I think suspension.
Suspension?
I think so.
I don't know what that means. I know that that's the name. Is it? I guess it's because it has those two
Suspenders.
suspenders, I guess.
Maybe. Yeah, we're just making words up.
Yeah, we cannot walk over the Verrazano Bridge. They shut it down for the New York City Marathon,
That's
but that's
right.
not happening this year, and we wouldn't qualify. Even though we have walked a lot of marathons, I don't think we'd qualify for the official New York City Marathon,
No, we would not.
at least not this year.
No. My understanding is you have to participate in particular races. And,
Yeah, not just your own self-directed
Yeah.
marathon walks.
yeah. Donate a bunch of money as well.
Right.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's a scam.
Right.
It's not. I'm just kidding.
While we're talking about the topic, though, we are participating in the Great Saunter.
Yeah, we are. I registered us.
Yeah, which is put on by the Shore Walkers.
Yeah.
Which I think we've talked about at some point, but it's a group that does guided walks around New York City, and their big event is the Great Saunter, which is a perimeter walk around Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not doing it this year, but they are doing a virtual event where people can accrue the mileage and however many or few walk sessions they'd like.
Yeah.
And since it only takes us 1.2 sessions to go around the perimeter of Manhattan in length, I believe it's like 33 miles or something,
Yeah.
we figured we'd sign up, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll do that. And actually, the New York City Marathon is also doing a virtual marathon.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone that happens to be listening to this right now is either doing the virtual New York City Marathon or knows someone that is, the way that they're doing it is that you can run your own 26.2 mile route. And so if people need ideas for routes, we have ideas for you.
Yeah, we have at least
We have
50.
a lot of routes.
That's right.
Well, the 50 are not public, but the 12 that we've already walked are public.
Yeah,
So check
we
them
can
out.
share- we
But
can
we'll
share some of the other
okay,
ones
we
if you
could
really
share.
want.
Yeah, independently. DM us or
that's right.
whatever. Send us a message.
Yeah.
There's the plug. So
That's
back
Fort,
to the fort.
That's Fort Wadsworth. And from there, you come upon a stretch of, I would say, 6 miles of shoreline. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, on the boardwalk.
That's right. And so it starts as actual boardwalk. You know, we use the term boardwalk, and sometimes that means concrete. But this starts as actual boards that are raised above the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really nice design. I don't know if the wood is actually colored differently or what, but the way that they orient it, which is at a angle 90 degree or 45, I think it's 90 degree. They're like, the boards are basically pointed head to head in one direction, so it creates this arrow effect.
Oh,
And
you know, I didn't notice.
oh,
But
okay.
but yeah, what you're doing with your hands is 90 degrees.
Yeah.
So
If you're just listening, picture hands at 90 degrees. And it appeared that the one type of the board was darker than the other. I don't know. I don't know if it was an optical illusion just based on how the boards were situated, but I think that one was of a darker hue, and it created a nice visual effect. I mean, we spoke about this when we were walking the shore of Queens and Brooklyn, and I was saying how much I love the simple design, which it just has this kind of long wavelength of a design in the concrete
Yeah,
carved
I
in,
remember
so
that.
you can see it for forever down. And this has a similar effect where it kind of guides the eye for
Mm.
forever.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on which direction you're looking, if you're walking up towards Fort Wadsworth, it's really nice to see the bridge get bigger and bigger as you go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Walking down the way we're discussing it right now, it goes as boardwalk for 2 or 3 miles because of COVID, I expect, and also because we're nearing the end of the beach season. There were not so many people out
Yeah,
there.
there was barely anyone. Even on Labor Day, though, there weren't very many people. And I always think of Labor Day as a beach day.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Would have to talk to some locals a little bit more about what the beach vibe is like, but there were restaurants or like, grills closer to the top of it towards Fort Wadsworth. So I'm certainly enough people must go there.
They weren't open, though,
No,
right?
no, they weren't open.
Yeah.
But the idea is that they at
They
some
would be
point would
during
sustain.
maybe normal times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you pass a lot of beachfront as well as parks on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
There are piers that go out,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like a very nice way to spend the day. And I don't know what it's like in the summer, but I don't know, something tells me that it isn't as crowded as what we're used to with the Rockaways.
Yeah, I get the feeling that it's not.
And it might be that the beaches just are rockier or are, jellyfish infested or something. I don't
Maybe.
know. But
There also is just seems to be more beach.
yeah,
Like smaller population and more beach.
yeah. Yeah, I
I
think
think
so.
with the Rockaways you run into, first of all, there's a lot of people that live right on the Rockaways,
Hmm.
but then it's also where most people go.
Right.
Most people from Brooklyn and Queens and even Manhattan, I think, go out to the Rockaways.
Yeah.
Whereas on Staten Island, it's like bigger houses and more spread out and more beach.
Yeah.
So I think it just doesn't need to serve quite as many people
Yeah.
per sand.
So
area.
I think that's a tip for people that have vehicles
Yeah, for sure.
in Brooklyn or Queens.
Yeah.
You could take
Or a boat.
or a boat. You could take the bridge over the Verrazano. There's a fee to get over to the Rockaways on the Gil Hodges, I think.
It's
So
not $13.
I know it's not 13, but
yeah.
the idea is that you're paying some amount of money anyway.
Yeah.
And if you're going over there and there's absolutely no parking and nowhere for you to go
That's true.
versus
I would say, though, if you're driving over the Verrazano and then I'd say continue driving south for a little bit. I did one time. That's the only time I'd ever been in Staten Island before this walk that we're doing.
Mhm.
And I accidentally drove over the Verrazano trying to get on the belt. And we ended up going to the beach kind of right under the bridge. It was not great. It was fine. There were just a lot of seagulls and it was like kind of dirty. I think because it was like right under the bridge.
Mm.
So what we've been seeing is really beautiful, but I would suggest to people if you are trying to go to the beach, don't just get off right under the Verrazano. It extends very far south.
Yeah. So as far as the beach names, there's South Beach, Midland Beach, and they all kind of occupy the area where it is either boardwalk or eventually it turns into concrete as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there are more beaches, but it starts getting a little more wetlandsy on the opposing side of the
Yeah.
beach. This is the Newdorp, Cedar Grove, and Oakwood beach areas.
Mm-hmm. I really like that area.
Yeah, that was a very
if I were to
pleasant
go
area.
for a day, I would choose one of those, I think.
That was a very pleasant area to walk through.
Yeah.
Much more isolated. I'm not sure. I think there are parking opportunities. I just wasn't keyed in on it because we were walking.
Yeah, we weren't looking for parking.
Yeah.
What if our project was just that we walk for 26.2 miles looking for parking?
Sounds great. I mean, we would be a
That
resource.
would actually be a really true study of New York City.
Right.
Just like taking note on all the parking rules.
Yeah. Alternate side.
Some streets don't even have alternate side parking. That blows my mind every time I see that. So anyway, that's
Yeah.
not what we were doing.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of wetlands around there. There's a fun seawall that existed that you could walk up on, made out of sandbags.
Oh, yeah.
And
There were lots of lizards on there.
yeah, a lot of lizards, which we've only seen lizards one other time, which was in a graveyard. So,
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot. They're already on the list.
yeah. Jesse's keeping an active list of animals that she's seen. And we saw a new one this week.
Yeah, we did.
Do you want to say?
Yeah, we saw muskrats.
That's right.
I didn't even know what they were, but we thought that they were. So we had seen groundhogs.
Not only have we seen groundhogs, but we saw a lot of groundhogs this week.
We did. We saw a lot of Staten Island groundhogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw one groundhog in the marshes. And then a few steps further, we saw what we thought was another groundhog in the marshes. But then it turned around to run into the grass, and it had this gross tail. So I said to Mike, "Oh my God, is that a rat?" And he said, "No." But we saw 5 or 6 more of them. And then we looked it up, and it was a muskrat.
That's right.
So not a city rat, not the typical city rat. It's like a mashup. I'm trying to think of the name of the guy that, like, it's a man and a horse. It's kind of like that.
A centaur.
Yeah, but it's kind of the same thing where it's like the groundhog is the man and then the muskrat is the horse, or the rat is the horse. So it's like groundhog in the front.
All business in back.
Rat tail in the back.
Yes.
Yeah, they're weird, but kind of cute if you see them from the front, and kind of freaky if you see them from the back.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
It was cool to see yet another type of wildlife.
Yeah.
And while we're on the subject, we also saw a lot of deer.
Yeah.
And
so many deer.
the deer that we saw while we were walking through the forests were they would see you, and then they would just pause and watch. Very rarely would they run away.
Yeah, they weren't scared.
They weren't scared, and they were very close most of the time too.
Yeah, that's true. We also saw a buck.
We did see a buck, and that buck was like right next to houses. It was not.
Yeah.
And it was very strange to see. He was tagged. He had little numbers. He was 198 on each ear. And he didn't seem concerned about us either.
No, he was fine.
And
I mean, it's not hunting season, and I don't even know if there's hunting on Staten Island.
yeah, I was curious to know that as well.
I guess we could look that up. I hadn't even wondered it until right now.
It seems like it'd be pretty dangerous to do hunting around where that is.
Yeah,
but also,
exactly.
if they're that unconcerned, and that there were signs up in various areas about controlling deer population through fencing, so they probably do some sort of culling. I just don't know how it works exactly. That same instance where we saw the buck, this was right outside of a greenbelt trail. There, down the street, were 4 turkeys right on somebody's lawn.
Yeah.
And yeah, we took a picture of that. That's on the Instagram if you're so interested in seeing it. But there's so much wildlife around here.
There is.
And
It's
pretty
surprising. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The groundhogs we saw along main roads a couple of times. We think we saw the same one on multiple days.
It must have been. He jumped over this plastic fence both times exactly the same way.
Yeah.
He was cute. He was cute and little.
On Thursday, when you weren't with me, I didn't see him in the same spot, but turning the corner from where that spot was, a man told me that there was a groundhog right there, and I said that maybe it was the same one I had seen.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah. So lots of wildlife in Staten Island.
We also saw snakes.
We saw some snakes. That's right.
I didn't care for that.
Yeah, Jesse saw some snakes last week, and the rat snakes. And I saw some smaller brown snakes recently.
Yeah. Maybe that's why people don't move to Staten Island.
I don't think so.
That seems like a pretty good reason, though.
Uh,
That might be the only reason that I'm not moving to Staten Island is the snakes.
One reason that I would say is worth further investigation and a potential negative
What?
is the mosquito.
Oh, we saw a lot of mosquitoes.
Well, we get bit by mosquitoes pretty regularly, and
Mhm.
I guess it makes sense. There's a lot of natural area,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of blue, like watershed areas that a
Yeah.
third of the island is intended to be closer to nature in order to improve the drainage of the area. But there are signs up all over that we've seen talking about how they're dealing with mosquito problems at the time.
Yeah.
Also, ads for mosquito services, getting rid of
Yeah.
mosquitoes. We have had mosquitoes right outside our home
It's true.
where we're staying, and they bit us up quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just if we stop in the forest, at any point, it's a crapshoot as to whether or not we're just going to get assailed.
Yeah.
Not as bad as what we experienced in Brooklyn that one week with the tiger mosquito, where we.
Oh, when we were down in Jamaica Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't think it was Jamaica Bay.
Oh.
It was the other side of the Rockaway Beach. The name is escaping me right now. Maybe somebody
Fort
that's.
Tilden?
No. Maybe when we've.
Oh, Bayswater.
Yeah, Bayswater. That area had the tiger mosquito that basically goes on kamikaze mission once they catch you, they don't stop.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like that. I think it's more just this one
Does
type
it kill
of
them?
what? Does what
Biting
kill
you?
them?
Does biting you kill them, the mosquitoes?
If they stay on there long enough, because I'm going to slap them. But no, it doesn't kill them. That wouldn't make any sense. They
We
need
just called it kamikaze mission.
because they don't seem to care
They're
if
not
you're
scared
swatting
if you
at them.
swat them.
No,
Oh, yeah, okay.
they just go for it until
Yeah.
they die.
Yeah.
So
They're hungry little buggers.
yeah, but that aside, there's a lot of different wildlife in Staten Island, and maybe we'll
Yeah.
see a couple of more. Haven't seen any raccoons yet.
No, I haven't either. Or possums.
I'm sure they exist.
They must be. I mean, if we see raccoons and possums in Brooklyn and Queens, you would think that they'd be in Staten Island or
Yeah,
on Staten Island
for
as
sure.
well.
So that kind of is the second of three chunks of the shoreline on the East Coast. The third
Yes.
is Great Kills Park.
Yeah. I liked it there too.
Yeah, and that encapsulates Great Kills Beach as well as some marinas there, and that
Mhm.
was definitely a spot filled with characters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, before we go on to that Great Kills Park is home to the second permanent European settlement that along the beaches there. I guess probably because it has a kind of a natural bay.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by that. The second permanent European settlement?
Yeah, like where the Europeans settled.
Oh, like from the 1600s or something?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I thought you meant like something that we saw while we were.
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
You were looking at me like I had said something awful.
No. Oh, no, I was just just trying to figure out what you meant.
But as it exists currently, it actually took a good deal of time to walk the entire route that we had mapped out through that, because
Yeah.
we enter in, it's kind of shaped like a boot, I guess, and you
Yeah.
you enter.
And there's a lot of Italian people.
Yes, kind of like Italy.
Yeah.
So you
interesting.
enter.
Maybe that's why
Maybe.
there was a settlement there.
Maybe.
Okay, so go on.
You
so
enter
the
through
park.
one section, walk all the way down.
Mhm.
There is a beach there, which we were pretty shocked was not more occupied on Labor Day, as Jesse mentioned.
Yeah.
That seemed like a beach that would be worth driving down to, going
Yeah,
the
there's
extra
a parking
mileage.
lot right there.
It's unclear if there is a permit required or not. We saw
There were no signs.
no, but we did see this police officer / park guy just
Yeah.
kind of giving the act to some people that were parking.
Yeah, although we overheard the conversation, it sounded like the people that were parking said that they had been parking there for 6 weeks
Yeah.
every day. And
Yeah.
the officer was like, oh, you're really getting away with something, aren't you? And they were like, no, we just didn't think that, do you want us to move? What do you want from us?
Yeah.
But so it sounds like you could probably park there for 6 weeks before the police would find you.
I think, yeah, probably
Or at
because it
least
was
one
Labor
out of
Day.
every
Some guy was
30 parking times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So this beach area that we went to, which I think is called Great Kills Beach, there is a pavilion there, and we didn't see it the first day, but on subsequent days, when there was nobody there but seagulls out on the sand, there is some sort of coffee clutch of old Italian men that go out there and just basically it was really funny to observe them as we would use that area for there's a bathroom there, so we'd go in and out, and it was just a very like how you doing, like people talking to each other, not really with each other, but everybody seemed very entertained and pleased, and they're all set up on their folding chairs, and there's no other reason to be there other than they just all know that they're there, so they congregate.
Yeah, they weren't. It almost looked like they would have been playing a game or something, but they weren't playing a game. They were just there.
Yeah.
In kind of a funny spot, too, like right in front of the bathrooms. I guess under the shade must have been why.
Yeah.
But not on the beach and not on the concrete near the beach, but like under in the kind of pavilion area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
did
was
manage
nice
to
to see.
catch a little bit of video of them just for
Oh,
posterity.
good. Nice.
Yeah, while I was taking a video of the beach itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was something about it that was heartwarming for some reason. Like it was.
Well, it seemed like there was just at least for me, I thought it was nice because it felt like this was a group of people that had a routine and had a community that worked for them. They all seemed happy. They were all smiling and talking a lot and had their little situation. They were older people that were doing their thing.
Yeah. It was kind of like not a daycare, but like something to do with their day.
Yeah, like a beach program.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's one area of social gathering.
Uh-huh.
Then we walk down all the way to the tip. There's this thing called Movie Star Island that we walk down on.
Which we thought would be really nice because of the name.
It's pretty nondescript. There's some beach out there.
Yeah.
The beach is, that must be, the tide brings all the garbage there.
Yeah.
It wasn't super disgusting,
No, it wasn't
but you
gross.
wouldn't
It was
want
just
to
like,
hang out there.
Yeah.
Also, the water was very brown for some reason. I don't think it was pollution per se, just kind of natural sediment situation.
Yeah, I
But
didn't notice that either.
the first day we walked down there were this swarm of what appeared to be bats, but in fact were...
I think swallows or something. Like the little birds that have the cute little face and the wings that kind of look like bat wings, but they're shorter and the tail they're small and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they live out there, and each day they would be swarming in a different spot. We managed to catch some video of it on the 360, so you can check it out there.
Maybe
if you
one
want.
of our bird friends, Tim, if you're listening and you see that video, you can let us know. Is that a swallow?
Right.
I really don't know much about birds, so I could just be making this name up or switching them.
I want to say starling, but I don't know if that's right.
That's a part of a ship.
I just want to say
starboard.
Yes.
I don't know much about ships either.
So coming back from Movie Star Island, we kind of retrace our steps, and then there is a second area of communal gathering. But that one was a lot looser in terms of, it didn't seem like the same crew getting together every day.
No.
And it was very strange. It's a parking lot.
Yeah.
And it's interesting for a few reasons. One, it looks out into a marina, but it's pretty far away from the boats, except for several which are permanently sunk.
Yeah.
And it's unclear how long that they've been there. But you can walk along this walkway and look at these various boats that are at different stages of being succumbed to the water.
Yeah. There's one that's just barely tipped over and half of it's underwater, but then it ranges. There's another that is completely underwater and just the very top of the sail is still out.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, is that something because of just COVID? Maybe people are out of town and their boats are sunk and they don't know about it? Or is this like part of the attraction of that marina? Is it like a message to the boat people there, like don't do what these people did, make sure to tie your boats up correctly out further from shore?
I don't know.
I don't know. I guess we could ask.
I would think that they've only been there for a year or less, but I don't really
Yeah.
know. But the reason I'd say that is mostly because salt water is very harsh on things, and it'll start degrading stuff
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
quickly. The one that had sails on it still would seem to me like it hasn't been there for very long.
Yeah.
But what do I know? And if you keep walking along that road, particularly on Labor Day, but each day to varying degrees, there's a bunch of people parked there.
Yeah.
And they set up chairs on the walkway and do fishing and otherwise just, I don't know why they're there. It's unclear with access to so many beaches why the parking lot is preferable to anywhere else.
It was very strange. It wasn't even, they weren't sitting in the parking lot. Like, I think that makes it sound like the thing before
Tailgating.
Yeah. But they were sitting on the sidewalk next to the parking lot that's like in between the parking lot and the rocks that lead into the water.
Yeah.
The fish, and it's like a fishing bay marina situation. So it's not, you're not going to go swimming in that water. You're not going to touch that water with your body. You might throw a fishing line into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were plenty of people that weren't with a fisher, weren't fishing themselves. They were just chilling in beach chairs with a cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's a little bit more fishing up the road. So I'm sure some people were parking their car there and then going fishing.
Oh, maybe,
But
yeah.
Monday was the day that the most people were there. And most of them were just sitting in their chairs on this walkway.
Yeah.
For some reason. On Friday, when I was there were a lot of people that were just in their cars, looking out into the water.
What? Really?
Yeah, for reasons, again, I don't really understand that maybe they just wanted a break from reality. But you could look out and the ships are out there, but not very close in that area. So you're not
it's not a bad view, but it's not like
No.
some amazing view.
No.
It's also very close to the marshes where you can walk through, kind of like a little hiking trail. And yeah, like you said, all these other beaches are really easy to get to. Even the marsh area, there's lots of open spaces. If you just walk maybe a quarter of a mile from your car, you can be in like a much, in my opinion, more pleasant and open space where you don't have people walking over you and through your little group. But I think that maybe there was one group that was plopping themselves down right as we were walking by. And there was one person, this woman, that was like very tan, very kind of like boisterous and, and like I think she was drunk or something, but she was like, I don't care if people walk around me. They can walk around if they want. They can go into the parking lot. And I think that was kind of like the draw for some people maybe is like, I'm in the way.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
Yeah.
And I don't care so much that I'm going to tell you that I don't care.
Yeah.
So whatever that is, that might be fun.
Yeah, for some people it is.
Yeah.
It's people watching and they're going to get drunk with their friends. It's like really easy access to your car while you're drunk. Who could want anything more?
Perfect.
Yeah. So.
And then they can go back to their houses where they have a sign that says Staten Islanders against drug abuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's different.
Yeah.
Cool.
From there, we continue walking again through more kind of wetlandsy, very pretty area. And we leave the park. And this is where, depending on the day and how much we were interested in going through the forests,
Mm-hmm.
we could spend the majority of our remaining time for the day in forests.
Yeah, it was really cool. I
Th-
felt like we were in California or something where we were walking right from the ocean to the forest.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even have to get in a car.
Yeah. So this equates to about 3 hours worth of probably hiking through woods with one little interruption and then, an hour's worth of walk home from where we exit. But
Well, it also starts as woods. Like it feels really like the forest and the woods right when you're leaving Great Kills and going into Willowbrook. But once you get through the Willowbrook section, it becomes more like park woods.
mm-hmm,
And then it turns into park.
mm-hmm.
And then it's like back into suburbs to
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure, yeah. So a couple of the interruptions worth noting. You go through Richmond, which there's Old Richmond and Richmond. Richmond has this one shopping center with a couple of unique features. This is on Clark Street. And the first of these unique features is this Russian grocery that Jessie found that she really liked.
Oh, I loved it there. It was called Net Cost Market.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it to anyone that finds themselves out in Richmond, or I thought it was in Bay Terrace.
It's right on the border.
Right on the border?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was great. I didn't realize it was a Russian store until I got in. Well, actually, until I got out and saw that it was called Net Cost Market, but it also said that in Russian.
Yeah.
So, yeah, had a great, really interesting hot bar that I didn't want to touch right now because of COVID, but I'd say if you go back whenever that situation's fixed, check that out. Also, tons of smoked fishes and little like pierogies and blintzes and that type of thing, like in separate coolers where you could like pick them out and different types of crepes. And yeah, just like it was the size of a regular grocery store, but everything was special, like Russian specialty store.
Yeah.
And it was cheap.
Yeah. You mentioned cheese salad.
Oh yeah, there was something called cheese salad in the hot bar, but in the cold section. And it said it was made from shredded cheeses, carrots, mayonnaise, and I don't remember what else was in it. I don't really like mayo, but I was interested. I probably would have tried it if it wasn't for the COVID.
Right. Yeah, I would like to see it at least. I waited outside.
Yeah, you could have come in. I thought about taking a picture,
That's okay.
but I was hungry, so I was trying to figure out what I wanted. I ended up getting some lox and
Yeah.
wasa crackers.
Yeah.
And a little rectangle. It was like about the size of a tape, like a cassette tape.
Mm-hmm.
And it was some kind of garlicky cheese mash. Like, it was like garlicky brie, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds good. We
It
still
was
have it in the
good.
fridge.
I've been eating it.
Oh, you have?
Oh, yeah. I think it would be really good in a pasta.
Mm.
But I've just been spreading it on bread and crackers.
Nice idea.
Yeah.
Also in this center, and we didn't actually see this, but I was Googling Staten Island mozzarella. And then while I Googled Staten Island mozzarella, it autofilled Staten Island mozzarella bunny. And of course, I had to click that to find out what that was.
Yeah.
And there is a store called Novelli's in this same shopping center that every Easter puts together this Staten Island Easter bunny made of mozzarella.
Yeah. Mike
And-
sent me the video of it. We should put it in the notes or something, but it looks delicious.
It's, yes. There's this video, it's like 1 minute and 14 seconds, and it shows the process of how to make this bunny. And apparently they make 200 of these a year.
Yeah.
And it's a platter. It's a mold of a bunny, and it has olives and meat and onions all
Yeah.
around it.
The
I guess-
eyes are made of olives, but
Yes.
then it's also surrounded by olives
Yeah, yeah,
and meats.
yeah.
I don't know what the nose might have been a tomato.
Yeah, or
And
a
then there's a
carrot or
carrot.
something.
No,
Yeah.
there's a carrot on the mouth
Oh,
that I
okay.
think is supposed to be like the bunny's eating a carrot, but it kind of looks like the bunny's smoking a cigar that's made of a carrot.
Yeah.
I don't know what was at the bottom.
I think it was onion or
Oh,
something.
it was
I
onions.
think so. I'm not sure.
It looked great.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, wow, we could have done Staten Island at Easter time.
Yeah.
That could have been our lunch.
Yeah. And then we never made it home. So that was cool. And there was also a diner there that I had lunch one day.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it
That
was
looked good
fun.
there.
It was there were issues with bees, which we'll get to in a
Oh
second.
my God.
But it was nice. It was, outside in the they just the service was very swamped. So they would just kind of deal with me in a rush, and then like nothing would happen, and then they brought me my check really early, but then didn't come back for like 15 or 20 minutes. So I had a card out, and then I just swapped it for a $20 bill, and I was like, I'm
And
just
left.
leaving.
Yeah.
But yeah, that center was, everything about it was pretty on point and cool.
Yeah.
And you walk from there to Old Richmond or Richmond Town,
Mm-hmm.
and we touched upon it briefly last week, both in our walking as well as the idea that we were going to be there again.
And we went back.
We went back. It seems like an area that would be way more interesting if COVID wasn't happening.
Yeah.
As it is, everything's closed down. I would expect that there are probably people that are, into I don't know, it seems like an area where people dress up.
Yeah, it seems like there might be like some old-timey historical reenactors.
Yeah. You can't say for certain.
I love that shit.
Yeah, didn't think to look it up in advance of this. What they did have, they had one thing that was open, and that was Egger's Ice Cream,
Oh, yeah.
which we ended up going to multiple times this week.
Mhm.
And that was very good. The
Just
ice cream was very
old-fashioned
good.
ice cream store.
Yeah.
And then there were these, like a bunch of old buildings that look like, they probably are old buildings, and then they're, decorated minimally to look like they're historic happenings.
Yeah. There was one building that had it was decorated with crocheting for the suffragist movement. So it was the
Yeah.
100th anniversary.
Good job knowing that was crocheting and not knitting.
Hey, sometimes you get it right. So we took a video of that for the 360 video. So you can check that out if you're so inclined. I was kind of happy to have a video of that because I thought, well, it's going to be a 100th anniversary of suffragist movement on this video that maybe will be there for a while too. And while we were eating the ice cream, I said there was bees earlier. There were so many bees. I think they were wasps. And I know that there exist wasp traps. We used to have them at the beach where I grew up. And I don't know. I know there's also sensitivity about bees and not wanting to lower their population.
Yeah, well, we were talking about it. Are bees and wasps the same thing? I don't think so. I
Yeah.
know that we need to save the bees because the bees are dying, and that's not good. But that's like, I think that when we talk about save the bees, we're talking about the bumblebees.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I don't think we're talking about the wasps.
Yeah.
I think the wasps are fine, but I don't know.
Yeah.
They're certainly filling trash cans and chasing ice cream eaters at historic Richmond Town.
Yeah. Yeah, the second day we went there for ice cream, Jesse got something in a cup, and I had a sandwich and a soda, and we moved quite literally 4 times and ended up eating our food in
Standing near a fire hydrant.
because apparently there was a force field around that fire hydrant.
Until there wasn't, and then we gave up and we just left.
And it seems to me if you are a business, you just set up traps. I mean, you probably are less inclined, or at least you Google that. Am I really destroying the environment by getting these wasps out of here?
Yeah.
But it was, especially considering there's no people around, it was amazing that there was still the presence of these wasps. Like, why don't you find another job at that point?
I guess there's enough ice cream business happening But maybe that's why they're swarming so much too, because maybe it's like we were the only people there. So maybe they're just there waiting until the dum-dums show up and start eating their ice cream. And
Yeah. I don't know.
yeah.
If it's like that all the time, I'm surprised that anybody would go there at all. It's really,
Yeah, it also seems like those historic places are really like great spots to bring a school class or a camp or, anything with kids. And kids are the worst when they get stung.
yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes they are allergic, which is that's actually the worst.
When I was at the diner, it was pretty bad too.
Ugh.
It was tolerable that I didn't have to move, but like there was grandparents with their grandkids, and like the whole table was freaking out.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
it was
Yeah.
not good.
It's not good. I am not allergic to bees, and so I actually don't really mind if I got stung, it wouldn't bother me too much. But so usually I'm not scared or but they were annoying.
Yeah.
They were really annoying.
Yeah. No, I don't.
And I still don't want to get stung, especially when we're walking all day and no one wants to get stung. I still get
Yeah.
puffy.
I was experiencing anger more than fear.
Yeah, I
I'm
know
just
you
like,
were.
why? Leave me alone. Stop
Yeah.
landing on my things.
It was unfortunate, though, because you were experiencing anger at the wasps and telling them to leave you alone. But then what would happen is I would leave you alone.
Yeah. So that's that. And then from there, we continue on our 2-hour plus journey through the forest,
Mm-hmm.
which included another walk through the golf course in La Tourette,
Yeah.
which is funny that exists. And it is, in fact, I noticed on the sign, a course that is at least endorsed by the Parks Department in some way. So there's,
Mm-hmm.
because I kept thinking somebody was going to be like, what are you doing here or whatnot.
I
but
kept thinking someone was going to kick us out, too. But no, it seemed like, we said hello to people and waved, and everyone just seemed like, oh, yeah, totally normal that somebody's taking a walk through the golf course.
Yeah.
We were also walking backwards through the golf course.
Yeah.
We didn't have golfing equipment.
No. There were a couple of times where I had to wait while people were teeing off.
Yeah.
And also, it was funny the way that the paths work. You, at one point, are walking behind where the driving range is.
Mm-hmm.
Not in danger of getting hit by a ball, but just behind where they're all golfing, and you appear out of nowhere. So I can only imagine for the people that are practicing, thinking, why are there people behind us all of a sudden?
Yeah.
But
It might make you self-conscious.
yeah,
It might make me self-conscious, I guess is what I should say, if I was practicing my drive,
right.
my
But
swing.
I haven't golfed since I was a little kid, and it was pretty funny to see all these golfers because more than half of them are very bad.
What did you call them? Duffers?
Duffers,
Is
yeah.
that the term?
That's a term.
Is that Is that like a word that we can use?
Yeah.
Should I have said that publicly?
Yes,
kidding.
you can use it. It's not racist or a slur. It's just a term for somebody that's
Duffer.
not very good
Not very good
at
at
golfing.
golf.
Usually it's
Is it a term for people that are not very good at anything? Like, is it like a novice, or is it like is it like you suck golfer specifically?
a lot of people use it to describe themselves, so
Mm.
it's not I don't think it's that controversial.
Okay.
You have to be pretty aware of your own weaknesses in golf, I think, in order to have a good time.
Well, I don't think you would think you're good at golf if you're not good at golf. It's very clear it's kind of like math. It's like par 3.
Right.
Did you hit it in 3 pars or not? And if not, you lost and you're a duffer. And if you did it in less numbers, then you're Tiger Woods.
That's golf, everybody.
That's how golf works.
Jesse thought that there was a stroke limit because her dad and her uncle used to take out her and her cousin,
Yeah.
and what I presume happened is that after 7 strokes, they were tired of waiting for them to finish and said, okay, pick it up. That's enough.
That's how I remember it. It also, yeah, I'll have to ask them about it if any of them remember that too. Because, yeah, I thought that, like, for example, if a hole was par 3, that if you got to 8, because that's 5 over, then you just mark it down as 8 maximum and move on. That's how I remembered it. I'll have to ask my dad and my uncle and my cousin if anyone remembers that rule as well.
Yeah.
Apparently that's not a rule. Apparently you just hit until it goes into the hole, even if it takes all day.
That's correct. I mean, if you're doing it professionally, yes. And yeah, that's after the golf course, then you're in the woods that just go back and forth, kind of meander around. We discovered some interesting things. There was a swamp lake that you pass. One day there were these guys fishing there, and there's an area where there was a pickup truck that was abandoned in the middle of the forest.
That made me feel a little nervous.
And then right near there was another pavilion-esque area with a bunch of picnic tables and a wrapped up piano, and it was art camp. What was it? What was it called? Illuminart.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was called Camp Illuminart, which made me think of the Illuminati.
Yeah. I mean, that must be what they're going for.
I don't think
They
so.
want to be the Illuminati, but for art for children.
I don't think so.
Oh, or it could just be Illuminate.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was a nice area to like have an event or something.
Yeah, it seemed really cool. I don't know how the kids get there.
Yeah.
It was pretty far into the woods, unless there's some kind of back drive-in situation. Like, it seemed like it was for little kids too, because there were cubbies, and the cubbies were small.
Yeah.
And I know it's just like where they put their stuff and their shoes.
Yeah.
Or, well, I don't know why they'd take their shoes off in the woods. I don't know what it's for.
Yeah.
It was an interesting space. It did seem like a cool spot to have an event.
Yeah.
We ate sandwiches there.
We did. We ate sandwiches there. And yeah, just a lot of woods area there.
Yeah.
There are spaces where you can't hear anything around except for the woods, which is, I think, what you're looking for when you're trying to get away and, imagine yourself not a part of the city.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I would definitely recommend if people are trying to get out of town and having a hard time deciding where to go, I would actually really recommend taking a day trip out to Staten Island to one of these parks and walking through. It's really quiet, really secluded. Doesn't feel like you're in the city at all, and it's easy and fast to get to.
Yeah. And then from the woods, we're at an area where we pretty much head on home. There are some variations from day to day, but it all starts kind of looking like how our Queens route looked like, where the last 3 miles or so has some slight variations, but you start seeing the same areas again and again, which is nice, honestly, when you're doing the walk, because it starts to put a time frame as well as an understanding of how much you have to go.
Yeah, and it feels, especially since we're staying out there now, it kind of feels, or is starting to feel like, okay, we're going home. And we're getting to know those particular smaller neighborhoods that are right around where we're staying even better.
Yeah. Yeah. But that covers this week on our East Shore Staten Island trip.
Yeah, that's that.
Thanks so much for listening or watching, depending on your platform of choice. Please continue to follow along with us. Do all the liking and sharing. We'd greatly appreciate it. And until next time, thanks and have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.